Yo, what's up people, it's your boy P, also known as Captain P67. We're here today for my lightning explosive critical spear build. As you can see from the footage, the damage and the map clearing of the build is just absolutely S tier. However, quick disclaimer, that footage that I released in the start of the video, that's actually like an older version. For the last 2 days I have been tweaking the build, so we actually have got way more damage. So for an example, in that video the spear was, with some of the buffs, hitting for 1.9 million. I got it to 2.4 million, so we do actually a lot more damage with this version, which is all on mobility. So I thought I'd just drop that in there. So the footage you saw is a slightly weaker variant of what I've got already. But without further ado, we'll get into the build as we always do, and I'll go through my rotation as I do. So we'll go with the gear, we'll go with the skills, we'll go with the passives, we'll go with the rotation, and then we'll go with the total stats. We've got a lot to get into, so I'll be as quick as I can and cover everything, and we'll just go over everything. And also the mobility's already done and will be included in links in description. So if you want like a text version, you can always go with the text version with Mobilytics, and if for any reason you can't listen to the audio with the YouTube video, just go on the Mobilytics, just follow the guide there. But I am live on Twitch every single day, so if you do need any help or if you got any questions, you can come through on there. And then the last few days I've had multiple new viewers and new people asking about the build, so this is the build for you. So let's get to it. So as I said, we'd cover mainly is the gear itself. So with the lightning explosive critical build, gear wise, we'll start off with the spear itself. Now in regards to spears, you can use any spear you want. However, what I would highly recommend, we are 100% crit capped, and just you can say somewhat over capped, so we're always critting no matter what. So you would want to get anything between 11.96 and above off the base, and then 2 critical hit chance of 4.96. Now the scaling of the damage will be physical mainly, and we can add elemental as some spears come with that. We also have lightning added on there, +4 to projectile skills, so you increase the projectile skills themselves, giving them flat extra damage. And I think the most, one of the most important things is the leeches. So if you can get leeches, 8.75 physical damage as mana, or anything close to that, this will be so much more beneficial, as you won't have any mana issues whatsoever. I don't have any with this build whatsoever. Even through the footage it might look like I'm using quite a lot of mana, but at any point I'm never stuck without mana. And it might come up saying, oh, you are out of mana, but by the time you throw a hit and you throw the spear plus the tech I've included, you're always recouping that mana back, so we don't have any mana issues. And I've also included some extras to counter that if you do come into that earlier and you don't have a spear that has the physical damage as mana as well. So that's what you're looking for. Now in regards to the helmet, you always want to try and get as much critical on there. So this should be a T1 in regards to 34. And also energy shield, life, maximum mana, chaos res or anything like that, or resistance. Rarity would be great, and this build has 189 rarity, so the rarity is just through the roof with this build, and we get lots and lots of drops, divines, everything included. So this literally just covers everything. But on your end, as you're building a build, try and get as much crit chance as you can, get all the highest stats you can. Evasion rating, energy shield is good as well. I haven't fully qualified this yet, because again this is just for the showcase, and then you can use this as a base template with whatever currency you've got. Use it and, you know, make it work for you. And when I'm done with the build, I'm actually moving to a few other builds I've got cooking, so I might just quality it after. But yeah, just get what you can and make sure you get enough critical and resistances if possible, chaos rares, any rarity, and evasion and energy shield on there as well. Now in regards to the amulet, you do want to get plus. You can get +4 to projectile skills, but if you got more of a budget, just go to +3 or start with +2 or 1, whatever you can afford, and then put thaumaturgic generator on there when you anoint it. And then any attributes will be great, because that will allow you to put on certain items and you won't be too spread out. So the main things to look out for is projectile skills. If you can get all attributes, great. Obviously evasion, and you also do want spirit, so having about 33 or more would be ideal. Do not go for anything less, because you might be struggling with what you need on the build, and I've got it exactly to a T, to a science, so there's not any spirit missing or anything. So aim for projectile skills, attributes and spirit if possible, and then of course you can get increased evasion rating from body armor, because we do have a lot of evasion rating as well, and of course rarity if you do have the budget, or if you want to go for that as well. Now same thing for the rings. I've gone for triple rarity because again I've made sure this build is very high rarity, so I'm getting a lot of good drops. However, on your end, just mainly go physical damage to attacks, more flat damage. You can go mana regen as well, and we've added lightning on there, and obviously any sort of resistances that you might be missing as well. The other ring I would definitely recommend, if you can get, grants additional 1 skill slot. So I would say it is mandatory to get this if you want to be as optimal as you can. If you can't though, you can skip out on 1 skill, which does make it a lot better. So I definitely recommend getting it, but as you're building the build up, if you can't get it, just go without. Use a ring with similar stats and just go without the additional skill slot, and then work what you can from there. But again, I've gone rarity, intelligence for attributes, res on there as well. Now in regards to the somewhat offhand, we have gone for Sacred Flame because it says gain 67% damage as extra fire damage, which highly increases the damage in your build. And I'll go through all the stats and everything with you at the end anyway and explain the rotation, but you do want to get that, which increases the damage. And also the note on the bottom, enemies in your presence resist elemental damage based on their lowest resistance. Since we are a ranged build, we don't really need to apply this too much because we can shoot everything so far away from us. However, if we get close, that will kick into effect. And we have got Rakiatas in the lightning throw itself. However, we don't have an explosive spear because there is a bit of a bugged iteration between Rakiatas and this. So because we're using explosive spear to do the main giga damage at close quarters, or just burst damage, it doesn't really matter anyway. But yeah, that is one of the main reasons we got this, and it's just super dope for that damage as well. So definitely recommend getting that. Now a cool thing about gloves in general for the martial artist, you can read over these stats if you wish. I'm going to go for this as quick as I can. But when you remove the gloves, this is what the stats will look like as a normal gloves do. So adds physical damage, adds lightning damage, 34% increased critical damage, dexterity, evasion rating, more energy shield, and rarity again. Then I've also runic warded it, so we've got a bit of extra layers of defense. And then what I've also slotted in there is 15% chance when you gain a frenzy charge to gain additional frenzy charge, which I would highly recommend, because you want to get as much frenzy charge as you can, you want to have the uptime as much as you can, and you can do way more. But however, when you do slot it into the glove slot, look at all the stats change. So we have maximum energy shield, runic ward per level, evasion per level again, +4, energy shield per level +1. Attacks gain 23% damage extra physical, that's been converted. And whereas we had the critical damage, that's been converted into critical hit chance. So without it, it's going to be highly unlikely you're going to be able to hit the full crit cap. But there are nodes I'll show you, so you can hit it maybe without these gloves or something similar. But that changes and gets converted. And also 49% chance, surpassing chance to find additional projectile. So we always do pretty much extra projectiles, and that 49% probably goes close to 50. So it's a very consistent. And then also the increased quantity of gold dropped by slaying enemies, which is not what I need. I'm at 77 million gold, but anything's great, especially if you're making a lot of characters and respecing stuff as well. And then we've got attacks gain 18% damage as extra lightning damage, which is also included in the gloves which I showed you. Now I'll just quickly go over this, is the one we're talking about. So Way of the Stone Fist, gloves you equip have their base type transformed to Fist of Stone while equipped, and the explicit modifiers are transformed to more powerful related modifiers. Ignore attribute requirements to equip gloves, and that's why that's on there. Then we've also gone for Mage Blood. So I've already done 2 guides for this anyway, so if you haven't got a Mage Blood, I've done a video on how to get it. Then I did a follow-up video because I got 2, just because I just wanted to prove that it worked. And this is after a few patches, so 100% just use those guides. I can always link them in the description for you, and that will cover that for you as well. And we've gone for gold, bismuth, sulfur, granite. So we've gone for more armor. We've gone for the elemental resistances, I believe. We've gone for the rarity, so we've got higher rarity in general. And then, top of my head, So we got armor, we've got the resistances. There's something I may have missed on it. I'll just quickly refer to my own guide. So I'll know this once I look through it. Quick side note, I guess. Always refer to your own tech. So here's a Mage Blood anyway videos I was talking about how I got it first try. So what did I get? So gold, bismuth, sulfur, granite. Bismuth 45 to all elemental resistances. Granite 2000 armor. And what else did I say? Gold, bismuth, sulfur, granite. Sulfur is, oh yeah, 60% increased damage, of course, the sulfur one. 60% increased damage, makes the area within 2 meters of your consecrated ground. So again, another way of keeping your survivability going. So that covers that. And also gold, bismuth, sulfur, granite. Bismuth elemental resistance, gold rarity, granite 2000 to armor, and yeah, sulfur increased damage. So that's what I meant to cover that. So ideally I'd recommend you roll as close to this as you can, what I'm trying to get at. However, if you do need more of something, just roll of what you need. If you need more resistances, double roll of resistances. If you can't, if you have high enough rarity already, you could always roll the crit on there as well, which could save you a lot on crit points. That would help you out a lot as well. Now, in regards to the boots, you do want these particular boots. Without it, you will be struggling to keep the charges. So I highly recommend you get any sort of boots with this particular thing where it says skills have a chance not to remove charges but still count as consuming them, which is a chronomancy modifier. So you can craft this yourself. However, you can buy some on the market. Movement speed is great. Go for evasion rating. Stun threshold, obviously, as much as you can. Any sort of extra resistances you want, and then I've got rarity on there as well. But 100% without the skills chance, you can get like 10% as well, less, but I'd ideally main for 15%. That'll be beneficial for you. And then also in regards to the flask, because we are using Runic Ward, I've mentioned the tech on my Twisters build for this, but basically you just use this flask, and when you use the flask, any sort of extra ward you've got, you can also count as guard on top for the effect. So use any flask per se, but recommend this one because you've got Runic Ward. And then also, as far as Runic Ward goes, don't Runic Ward like your armor piece or your helmet because you'll lose a lot more on defenses. You could potentially either go for the boots or just your gloves, since you won't lose as much. And you only need a little bit, but you don't have to have it. It's just another layer of defense, and it just synergizes with this. In regards to charms, any sort of charms immune to freeze can be great with certain particular bosses. We have got our resistances fully capped. However, chaos, we are slightly off, and I've changed it over and over, so you can always add the charm in there and then go for your base chaos resistance, what you got as well. And then of course we've gone for the stag because it does lightning, it does increase our elemental. You can use any charm in here anyway, rite of passage, but I've gone for this ideally because it synergizes with the build. It looks cool as well. And then of course we've gone for Laviangas for the consistent mana flow to us. And I'll go over these skill points. So I may have changed one of the points which I originally had in it to increase the damage, but either way you can use whatever flask you want as long as you've got a decent amount of mana and consistency as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go into the skills now. I'll probably remove the camera so you can see everything, so there's nothing blocked out the way. Probably be a bit easy for you to see and get all the knowledge that you might need as well. And then we'll blast through these quick as we can, and again these will be included in the mobilytics, so you can always just go over there as a full guide if you need to make it a bit slower for you. Now in regards to the Scepter itself, I mentioned this one. If you can go for a +5, I'd recommend going for just a 5 slot. So the actual stats, get as much as gain damage as you can, because that will increase your overall damage. The enemies in your presence will all stay the same, but then if you can go for a 5 slot, go for that. Basically the reason for that is you can slot in as many items in here and it won't count towards spirit cost, which is just really dope. So you can use all these and it won't cost spirit. So if you see on the top, these would normally cost 30 spirit, 15, 40, blah blah blah. Because we've slotted them into here, they don't actually count and it's kind of like a really good way of adding more bang for your buck, basically. So in regards to purity of fire, the extras I've added is herbalism, so you can stop these and read these are what they do, but obviously these will just give you buffs from life flasks. Cool headed, 50% less ignite. So when I talked about dot damage before in my other builds, this is just phenomenal. A lot of the times, because we have so much evasion and all that good stuff, we can rarely take a hit and die off insta death. However, when it comes to dot damage, the more we can mitigate, the better. So we got 50% less ignite duration. So this can be a game changer, and anything else you might want to put in there. Vitality 2, so we got more regen and maximum life per second while we're active. This is always active. And then precision, so we increase the accuracy while it's active, so always active. And as you can see, same thing. Mana regen from clarity 2 as well. Now in regards to the hollow focus, when I go over the rotation, it'll probably make more sense. But reason why we've got this, so while active, we'll get ethereal bells which will spawn around us. Every time we hit them, we destroy the bells. We also create a shockwave that damages enemies nearby. It can cause a heavy stun on them, cause a prime stun. The bells for themselves are prime for stun, and they can be called, and hits against them always critically hit. So they will then proc more. So what we've got is cooldown recovery, so they spawn quicker and we get access to them more. We Cutting Strike them on there, so it increases the threshold which they can be called on. And then we've also added mana leech, so we get more mana, so we don't have any mana issues. And then we can also blind enemies, so they can stop you from critting. And then of course we've got increased AoE. So when I go over the rotation themselves, when the bells spawn, you can just hit them with a strike and you can cut them. They won't spawn here in the hideout, but yeah, that will be when I go over the rotation. But that's what will happen. Now, in regards to other tech I mentioned, I always include extra tech. So if there is mana leeching enemies on the screen and you can't use any attacks and you're stuck, it is bad for sort of builds that don't have any sort of tech. So you do want to include something that can counter that. So as you can see from the tooltip, this is pretty insane. 229,000 damage just from one spear throw, just from base, no buffs added. And you can see that I'm using 2 spears, and with the extra tech you can actually add ice tip spears in there to do even more, and you can add extras in there as well with the Cutting Strike. So you can actually increase that quite a lot. But in base hideout we do 278,000, so it's absolutely insane. I've added bleed in there because it adds an additional proc and kill them quicker. We've added fully breaking armor because it is physical damage. I've added Uruk smelting in there as well. We've got mana leech in there, so again I mentioned if you are struggling for any mana, you can just throw a couple of spears, get all your mana back straight away, so this is ideal. Rapid attack since we throw so fast, and then Cutting Strike, so even if you have an enemy low and you don't have any mana issues, you just throw, well, you'd have mana issues, throw one of these spears and it'll finish. The Cold Strike will go even higher, you'll kill them and that's it, move to the next target, and then you got all your mana back. I've added Spear Stab in there, we never use this at all, but if you wanted to, originally when I didn't have maximum rage, you can use this to gain rage if you don't have access to internal rage, and you can build up your rage from here as well, and then added bleed proc in there. Now as you can see from here, 1.2 million in the base in the hideout. This does go up to 2.4 million when we get all our buffs included, but this is the base at 1.2 million. Now in regards to explosive spear, you hurl a single spear that pierces enemies and lodges in terrain. The spear will explode at detonation, consumes a frenzy charge if you have one to explode immediately, and deals more damage in a cross-shaped area and ignited ground. Detonation time, ignore that with frenzy charge, it's instant. Converts the fizz damage to fire damage, and number of projectiles cannot be modified. However, it pierces all targets, and limit is 4 large spheres. Now, if you see, I haven't even done anything. We've always got frenzy charges, no matter what. We've always got charges being generated with Thaumaturgic, which is from the amulet. So Thaumaturgic generator always makes charges anyway. And then obviously, if you see, no matter what, we hardly consuming any charges. After multiple throws, we'll consume some, but as you can see, I'm already generating more again. And this is without the belt, without even generating charges. So when you hit the bells, because we have it on the gloves, we generate so much frenzy charges. We've always got frenzy charges, no matter what. So that is the explosive spear and what that does, and it's pretty awesome. So again, with the rotation, I'll explain it all, but yeah, you just use this and it just kills everything. Nothing really survives against this. And on bosses and pinnacles and super juice ones, about 5 spears, that's it. We'll just absolutely destroy everything. Now, Call of the Week, I mentioned, we got a Cutting Strike included. So as you see the bells come around, we can call them. When you use Call the Weak, dash to an enemy, call the enemy. Once you kill them, you gain a frenzy charge. That's another way of getting a frenzy charge. The higher the rarity monsters, you grant an additional charge. Can't be avoided, so they can't dodge it. 20% chance to gain additional charge, so more frenzy charges, and it shows you. Rare monsters grant 2 frenzy charges, unique grant 3. And with that, we've just gone for charge perfusion, grants an additional charge on top of all of that. Through the kill. Once you actually kill an enemy with this, you gain more lightning damage, which gives you a massive buff flat damage again. Blazing critical is huge. Once you proc this, because we're always critting, we gain 15% additional fire damage on top. So add these two together, the damage goes through the roof just from one attack, and adds way more damage to your build in general. And then killing blows grants 2 of their modifiers. So what I've included, this is pretty dope. Just like the headhunter, so even though we're using mage, but some of the footage you might see me have aura skills. Whenever I use this to call any enemies, I actually get additional modifiers. So just like the headhunter, I've included with this tech. It's really cool. So you'll also get cool auras while you're mapping and blasting, and you'll get their modifiers on top, which is amazing. You can keep retopping it up as well. We've also got life drain, so recovers 12% on maximum life for 4 seconds when you call an enemy. Because we're constantly calling enemies because we do so much damage, we're always getting over capped on life. So which is what I mean, it's just really tanky, the build in general. Then we've added Eternal Rage, which means we get Eternal Rage, costs 100 spirit, but basically because we have maximum rage, we do more damage. So the more rage you have, the more flat damage. So if you can see that meter at the bottom right, the red meter just above my skills, that's at maximum. Because of that, we do more damage, and more damage is massive increase of damage. So it's a massive buff. Because I had extra spirit, whereas I mentioned you want 33 in the amulet, you do want to just either put in more mana regen if you wish, or just put in, like, you could put the life one if you have way more, just whatever you want, just put anything in there. Now in regards to defensive skills, we've gone for Wind Dancer because while active, periodically grants stages a buff that gives you more evasion per stage. Being hit by an enemy causes a buff, consumes all stages, and knocks back enemies around you, giving you crowd control. So anytime you get attacked, it'll knock them back, keep you more safe. You got more magnified area. I also blind him, stops from critting. We get life leech, so if we do get attacked, we get life leech back. We knock them back and keep them at a distance. And we actually do 20% more attack damage to enemies within 1 meter. So the closer they are, they take more damage. You can put something else in there as well, but I think it's pretty optimal the way it is, so I didn't put anything in there. But again, you can add whatever and change whatever to make it suit your playstyle. Now what's really cool about this is we have added Herald of Thunder. So while active, killing shocked enemies with a non-herald attack will cause subsequent attacks to hit release lightning bolts, which deals attack damage to all surrounding enemies. So where you saw it in the footage and the clips I added at the start of the video, you'll see that not only do I hit for big massive damage, once we destroy or kill an enemy, it will shock and hit those around them and do a massive chain reaction. This is why we just clear the map so quick. This is why we do 200% delis, fully juiced, fully maxed for tablets so quick, and it just absolutely obliterates anything for mapping. And yeah, it just hits any enemies that do so for big damage, and then you can call them, get your charges, and just do even more. So it's just absolutely phenomenal with the Herald. So I've added maim in there, so it mains them, slows them down, gives you more crowd control, more beneficial. Blinded them again so they can't crit you. We've added pinpoint critical, so we are always hitting 100% crit. I will show the maximum crit as well, and the crit multiplier, which I didn't include, but in the mobilytics as mentioned, but you'll see what's crazy about the build. Now, what I would definitely recommend, Ion's Thunder. So supports any skills which can deal damage. We deal damage from there, obviously. Lightning damage supported skills can inflict electrocute. So supported skills, they don't inflict shock itself. So the actual Herald won't include the shock, but the main lightning bolt does. But enemies slain while electrocuted, they explode, dealing percentage of their maximum life as lightning damage. So very key note, percentage of their maximum life. So the higher and higher content we do, the higher HP they have, the more percentage of explosion they will do as lightning damage. So it will scale indefinitely to whatever content you're doing. So absolutely covers you for that. It's absolutely amazing. And then of course, Living Lightning, one of my favorite skills per se. Whenever we practice, we bring out little small minions of lightning, and in the footage you'll see it'll chase enemies down, do more damage, and this actually classes a melee skill as well, which is pretty cool. So it's just more additional damage since we're doing so much lightning damage and the others, and it'll just constantly finish off any smaller little targets with a little bit of HP that you don't want to chase around the map for, which is why I really like it. Now, lightning spear is the main, obviously, thing we use for like just blasting through the maps quickly. And then when I go for the rotation, you can use explosive spear as well if you wish, but this is just more ideal to obviously proc into this, then to proc into this, and just blow up the whole map with a few spears. So in this, converts 80% of your physical damage to lightning. So as I mentioned, the spear with like fizz damage and stuff like that, it will convert that to lightning, chance to shock and all that good stuff. And you can go over it in depth what you want to look at. So we've used elemental armament, so we do more elemental, so more is the keyword, which is a lot more damage. We've gone perpetual charge, so whereas I mentioned the charges, if you look at the boots, actually I may have not mentioned this, so I can quickly go over this. On the chest piece, we put it in one slot, which is the idle. So skills have a 10% chance not to remove charges, but still count as consuming them. So 10% from there, 15% from here, not to consume the charge. And then we've also added in here, perpetual charge. So 15%, 10% plus 25%, 50% chance not to remove charges so far included. And we've also got Fable Stag in the tree, which I'll go through. So basically, it will use the frenzy charges as the buff, but it will have a big chance not to consume us using them, so we can maintain that. And I think, did I skip that with the lightning spear? I may have done. So yeah, elemental armament 2 in there, long fuse in there, which again I've put in long fuse, so it increases the detonation time but does more damage. However, because we don't include the longer fuse time, because we're using frenzy charges, this just does more damage. Pinpoint critical, same perpetual charge for the charges, and concentrated area for more, again keyword, more area damage. So I may have skipped that one, but yeah, I've covered that now. And then living lightning, I've gone to that. And then the spirit itself, same thing with the perpetual charge. We have gone for fork since it does forking, does slightly less damage after fork, but again we do so much damage in general, plus the heralds, it's pretty phenomenal since we cover so much. And then the chain reaction, and then pinpoint critical, and then finally I've put Rocky Artist Flow in here. So if their enemies have any sort of elemental resistances, hits with supported skills that treat enemies monster elemental resistant values inverted. So if you come across enemies with super high lightning elemental resistance, that will be inverted, so it'll go to negative, so you'll do more damage with it overall. So it's just absolutely phenomenal. Now quickly, if you're not sure, when I mentioned the crit, this is the best way to check. So if you go with the skill itself, main hand critical chance is 100%. So whereas I mentioned the critical is very important, you do want that 100% on here. And if you can see, the main hand critical damage bonus is 470. Underneath that we have 100% on top, which I'll go through the skill tree with you. So that's 570% crit damage multiplier. That's multiplicative damage, so it's absolutely insane. Also go over the same with the explosive spear. Without the pinpoint, you might have slightly less, but I just recommend you get as much 100% as you can. And because we've got such a high crit multiplier, the pinpoint critical won't mean as much as a less critical damage. The main thing is getting that actual damage is the key thing for the big damage. So as you can see, and crit damage bonus versus full life enemies, so absolutely insane. Damage numbers you can go over, but you can see over here, look at the beautiful juicy numbers you got there when you get the frenzy charge. So if you got the normal damage, so let's just say 169,000, or no, actually that might be 1.6 million. I might be underselling it. And then you got the bigger numbers here, but then look at the frenzy charge, 1.2 million. So absolutely massive increase. So once you see the damage with the frenzy charge, without it, it's just huge. And probably same thing if you want to look at this. So if you look, the damage per second is huge off base, 244,000, and then we add the lightning bolts on top, 170,000, and then you can see the rest of the damage numbers there as you scale it, plus the extras it does, so the fizz damage, flammability, all the extra stuff on top. Pretty awesome. Alright, so then we're going for charge regulation. So while it's active, this is a pretty cool thing as well, because we're already producing so many charges each time. If we get a power charge, which we always seem to get produced as we're fighting. So you can see over here we got frenzy charges. When we get into battle, we produce a lot of power charges as well. With that, we actually get more critical hit chance. So even if you're not at crit cap and you're close to it, because you're doing so many charges, I'll show you some of the tech and some of the ways of getting more power charges as well. But you get more crit chance. So with the, even without having the full crit, you can get close to it. And then this is also cool, when we get a lot of endurance charges as well. So when we have endurance charges, we get more armor, more evasion, energy shield, randomly. So there you go. We actually just got a power charge, and there's a actual charge now. So when we get endurance charges, we actually get more survivability. So our energy shield and everything else goes. Sometimes we get 2 or 3. So as we're fighting, we just get buffs and we just get stronger and stronger. It's just insane how it works. The synergy is phenomenal. And then again, increase skill speed. So you don't need to worry about like skill speed per se, because we always got frenzy charges and sometimes up to 5 as standard. The skill speed just goes through the roof. We're just way quicker. Again, you can put stuff in there if you wish, but without anything, pretty dope. And then Ghost Dance, same as before I've mentioned. Just like the Wind Dancer, synergy is phenomenal. So while you're active, causes you to periodically gain Ghost Shrouds. If you hit while you have a Ghost Shroud, it consumes one of them to recover your energy shield based on your evasion. Because we have such high evasion, it gets the energy shield, and the reservation's good. And we just keep like damage modifiers, damage reduction modifiers going. Synergizes with Wind Dancer to keep your survivability. So not only are we super tanky, we take a lot of hits, we got more ways of surviving with this. So the Ghost Shroud as well. So you can have maximum of 3. When you get hit, you lose a Ghost Shroud, but you regenerate energy shield. So if we take a hit, we generate energy shield regardless. So if you take a big hit on our life, we're going to get energy shield recovered and the evasion rating included. I've included like cooldown recovery, so we make it go down in regards to recovering a lot quicker. Add your precision, more accuracy, so you can hit enemies more across the map and not they can't evade, and you're more accurate on your hits as well. And then second wind, so you have cooldown recovery rate is higher. However, when if it is on cooldown, we get more life per second, so regen on top of that to recover our full life. And then we've gone for Sniper's Mark, which again is just phenomenal in regards to what it does. So you mark the target and your next critical hit will deal extra damage, and it will also give you a frenzy charge. So you put it on the target, you'll consume it, you'll do extra damage, and basically once you add in the extra critical damage on full life, because you're marking them, you're not doing any damage to them, this will include with that. Your next critical hit against marked enemies a 92% increased critical damage bonus. So since we're already doing 570 critical damage, we increase that to another 92 on top once we add the Sniper's Mark and the first initial hit. So it's absolutely bonkers of what we do once we synergize it. Not needed even on most targets, but you can add it. And then of course, whereas I mentioned the ring that you want to add one additional skill, I'd recommend keeping Sniper's Mark in there before the additional damage if you need it. However, the extra tech I've added, and a little side note, I originally had Barrage in the build with Oros Conviction, so we could actually do a lot more, and it was just amazing big damage. However, there is a bug that's included in the game. I'm not sure why it's in there, and I've seen like 200 pages of threads saying people having the same issue. But with my variant of the build, I added Barrage in there with Oros Conviction, and the extra damage was absolutely insane. So whereas we could throw 1 spear, I could throw like 12 spears, so we could do it like 25 to 26 million damage in one burst. But since the patch update, Oros Conviction stopped working in the skill, and the Barrage skill itself would stop me from attacking for 5 seconds. So I would use it in a map, and for some reason for 5 seconds we could not attack. And I asked all my viewers that I've got like thousands of hours in PoE 1 and PoE 2 if it ever happened. They couldn't figure it out. I checked with a lot of veterans. They couldn't figure it out. I've got good few thousand hours in this game. I couldn't see. I went through all the nodes, everything. I couldn't understand why it wasn't why it was happening. And then, like I said, when I checked on the forums, I saw over 200 pages. So it is just a bug. So do not use Barrage unless they've patched it again and changed anything. Barrage does work really well, and we could do giga damage with it. But again, I'd rather just show you a true version, no false information given, just to give you what the build can do. But just do not use Barrage, because you'll be using it, and I've seen a lot of clickbait videos out there using it, and then they won't show you the real footage of where you can't attack for 5 seconds. So not being able to attack for 5 seconds is huge, and it happens very, very often as well with the interaction. So do not use it. However, again, if they've done another patch since this video or whatever, just you can try it, but 100% it didn't work, and I removed it. However, with my alternate version, with Barrage and also Conviction, and because I got Runic Ward to add to use it in there, it was doing giga damage, and it was insane. But again, I've changed it for Ice Tipped Arrows now. But one of the really cool things about this is, not only does this give us extra giga damage, I'll show you some cool stuff. And also, whereas I mentioned the leech physical damage, when the Ice Tipped Arrow causes the fragments, they hit as physical damage, so you actually leech all your mana back as well. And I'll quickly just go over this for you. So, two cool things. As you can see, this is a buff skill, so it doesn't do any damage. However, look at the damage from the ice fragments. So 53,000. Might not seem like a lot in comparison to the millions I'm doing for the explosive spear. However, there's a lot of fragments, and a lot of fragments go over the screen. It also does physical damage, fire damage, cold damage, and lightning damage, so it all stacks up. And then when we add our buffs, because this is, don't forget, this is just hideout flat damage, it does increase to a lot more damage as well. So you literally just click one button, you throw it, it procs and blows up the screen, and all the fragments will be like all over this like part of the map. And then explode, do more damage, and get all your mana back as well. So that tech is pretty awesome. And it's probably the same thing as well for the fragments. I don't think it comes up to max crit, because the main crit on it is very low. However, look, we still got a high crit chance of it. And then look at the crit damage bonus, 672 multiplicative when it does proc, and then another 100. So 772 crit damage when it fully procs in. So it's absolutely insane. One thing I probably didn't go over as well, what's cool about the martial artist, we'll go over the skill tree. You do get runes extra, so you can put in like life in here, you can put in more life, and any resistances you might not have got capped. I've got all mine capped, and I'll go over everything with you. But ideally, you 100% want physical damage to increase the flat damage, and then the life in there, and also the jewel in here, put in physical damage, because I've gone over all the nodes that convert physical damage to the damage itself. Alright, so now we're going to go over the passive tree. Again, go over this as quick as we can. We've got lots to go over, and I want to be as in-depth as I can and keep it as much informative as I can for you. So, obviously, we are using the Martial Arts Master. So, go over the Increased Area Effect. Go over here for the Hollow Focus, which we've gone over with the bells and what they do and how they work. Extra attributes here as well. This is the tattoos, which I mentioned, obviously, so you can add more to it. Then you want to increase your evasion, max energy shield. We've already gone over the gloves and why this gives you a modifier. And then mobilization build-up can be better with this and the pin-up. And obviously, this one is pretty awesome. So 100% surpassing chance per enemy power to gain Mountain Teacher on immobilizing enemy, up to 10, up to 30. Lose a Mountain Teacher when you're hit or when you're a sustained attack that benefits from Mounting Teaching. So again, just makes you more stronger overall. You can do more with it. I've tried and tested other nodes out of here, and they're not really ideal to benefit you. So that's the closest thing you're going to get. But again, you can use any of the things you want, but ideally I'd go for Way of the Mountain. Now what I've gone through is here is just up this tree for the skill speed. Attack damage can give you flat damage, which can be good, but however we've gone for critical, which I've mentioned, which is way more damage. So gone up here, and then we've gone up here. Originally, when you are starting off the build, you do want to probably work towards up here. You're ideally not going to get all the crits first, so work your way towards the right more beneficially, and down here for the jewel sockets and stuff. But once you've done all your build, you want to go back up. We got crit damage from here, and then we go through here for more attack damage. And because we're always on full life, pretty much we get 40. However, if we take a big chunk of damage or a big hit, we actually do even more damage, which is insane. So we've ideally gone for that. And then you got all your crit nodes in here and dex, and then crit in here. And again, if you are losing on any crit, you can add more crit chance with these nodes. So I've mentioned the crit before. If you're not capped, you can go for those. And then ideally we've gone up here. So this is a pretty cool one. Maximum energy shield per 12 energy, per 12 item on your body armor. Because we've got a lot of item evasion, it converts that for the energy shield. So that is pretty ideal. And then we've gone through here as well. And then these are all crit chance nodes. Again, more crit if you can't cap here. Go over here. And then we've gone for a voices over here. Now ideally I've done most of the, well not even, I did all the content without voices. So if you can't afford it, it's understandable. However, with the high rarity, you can viably just farm and blast, and then just farm it with this. And you can ideally, if you got more currency, get a 2 or 3 or 4 obviously, and just do more with it. And if you want more energy shield, you can come up here. However, with this, the slower recharge kind of like hit you kind of hard. And on top of that, this is extra 5 points, which you are going to be losing out. And this is the ideal version I've got for the maximum output. And you've also got very tankiness with extra nodes for resistances, more evasion, everything included. And then I've also included recoup as well, which is massively great for defense, and you get more life. And then also with this, you want to time lost. We've got extra chaos res and lightning resistance. However, the most notable things are crit chance. So a minimal at 8 will hit you that crit cap. And we've also gone for the bonus damage of the spears and critical damage bonus as well. So this will give you the maximum output. But again, just use what you've got. I did use one with crit chance without the crit damage. And then when I got more currency, I bought a more expensive one with crit damage. So just like yourselves, I built the build organically live on stream. I started with lower gear, then I built it as I went through. And then we got all these nodes here for the critical chance and the extra charge duration. So this will give your frenzy, power and endurance charge duration increased. So I'll give you those buffs I already mentioned for a lot longer. And this is really cool here now. So not only do we increase the flat physical damage, we actually break armor with these as well. And when it comes to Deli and Simulacrum, you one-shot all the minions and the higher sort of monsters. And even if you're in closed area, just your normal lightning spear does so much damage. So you also do increase of fully broken armor and extra damage as well, which converts. And then because of this, we get all the extra crits as well. I was been going over this the last few days, where as I mentioned, I've tweaked the build for more damage. We actually get more elemental damage with this version. Originally, I did have all these nodes, but I still felt it wasn't good enough, so I actually went for this. So this increases the evasion rating. And again, I'll go with the full stats, but ideally you want to aim for 70% evasion rating. We're going over here for the frenzy charges. We're going over here for the crit chance, the crit damage, and all the other good stuff as well. And this will give you more flat damage. And then we went down here for the tree for this. And Megalomania, if you can get one with crit exploit, barbaric strength, perfect. If not, just you can path towards a critical exploit, which is the top of my head somewhere around here. So ideally, if you can't get access to Megalomaniac, just path through here anyway. So I've made it perfect either way. So whereas you've got nodes for your crits here, if you can't reach all the crit nodes on the side, just farm through here and go over here. You also get a fat amount of crit chance, and you can also get this without the Megalomaniac. So it's like another path you can go as well. So get that. But yeah, barbaric strength down here. You got other nodes. We want this for the helmet, which I put on Raven's Touch, which I may not have mentioned. So once you Raven Touch the helmet, go for this. This does work, and it gives you way more crit damage. So it's pretty insane. Look at the damage numbers there. And then obviously the barbaric strength as well, which I've gone over that as well. And obviously thaumaturgic is here for you as well. And then obviously voices will be over here for you as well. So this is the additional jewels that I did. Crit chance, damage, projectile, and then skill effect, which the buffs I mentioned, energy shield, crit damage, and crit damage bonus as well. So that is the passive tree included. And then finally I went for this, which is absolutely insane. This grants me so much more damage with this in comparison to how I had it before with the flat increased damage. So go with this, and you also get 5% of physical damage from hits taken as damage from a random element, giving you more damage reduction. So this is definitely ideal. So there you go, folks. That is the passive tree and everything covered. And I'm going to bring the camera back. I'll go for the rotation, and then we'll kind of wind down the build and cover everything, and then we are good to go. So finally, rotation, so simple. Go into a map, you call your bells that spawn around you, but even without it, you have frenzy charges. Before you start mapping, you can either wait, or if you load frenzy charges or any charges before you go into map from your hideout, you just go into map and you're good to go. When you go in, just your bells will appear around you. Just call them for any charges you might need. Ice tipped arrows, you can just click it once, use this, it'll blow everything up. You'll kill everything with one lightning spear anyway, and if you don't, just use a explosive charge. It's just literally that simple. Just blaze through the map, lightning spear, lightning spear, lightning spear, any sort of bigger enemies, or if you get someone close to you, use an explosive spear. And you've always got frenzy charges. If you need any more frenzy charges, just call whatever you need, get those. And again, if you run into any sort of particular enemies that leech your mana, just use normal spear to kill them. You can move quite fast, obviously, with the movement speed. Shoot them from range, get your mana fully back, and then just use an explosive spear, just kill them again. It's just that simple. Works perfect on Expedition, works perfect on 200% Deli, fully juiced, 4 tablets, works on all content. So it's just that simple. Just that simple. Now, just that's it. Let's go with the full stats, I guess, and then I'll read them out loud, and then again you can go on the mobilytics, check them yourself. So we got 2k base life, we got 2k energy shield, which, as I mentioned, with the tech goes way higher with the other charges. So these are just base, and then it increases, like Saitama just gets stronger as we blast. 669 mana, 233 spirit, 39 armor, 71% evasion. All resistance is capped, bar chaos at 44, plus the charm gives us more resistance. And then we've got 158 dex, 97 int, 138 strength, 71% chance to evade, 55% chance to deflect, and we get 40% damage reduction by deflection as well. And then all the other charges are there. Power charge is 3, frenzy charge is 5, and endurance charge is 3, and movement speed 25% increase. So there you go, folks. That is my lightning explosive critical build for you, done organically on stream from scratch, top to bottom. All the bugs, pros and cons included, mobilytics all done for you. So yeah, just try the build out. You'll have an absolute blast. Rarity is 189 on top of all of that. Works perfectly fine. There's no bug mechanics with it whatsoever. Works flawlessly. Can do all the content super quick, so you can use it as a great farming build. I get between 150 to 200 to 300 divines a day on stream when I'm blasting. Just on maps, just quick, clearly mapping. And because the rarity is so high, constant divines, constant high rarity, constant high loot every single time. So it's absolutely phenomenal. And that is it. So enjoy the build, try it out, let me know what you think of it, and I've got several more builds coming out. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Have a good morning, have a good night, have a good evening. I will catch you on the next one. Take it easy and peace out.